rights are rights guaranteed by the government and legal systems. The right to vote and stand for election, to be treated equally and fairly, to speak freely and to use the law to support our rights. All these are our rights as citizens. In many countries, these citizenship rights are denied to women, and to men also. But just as important are economic and social rights that enable people to use political and civil rights and participate in society. These rights include the right to food and shelter, to a family life, and to a decent standard of living and employment. During the course of the 20th century, women's rights have included all these rights and many more. Women's rights over their own bodies have been of particular importance. In much of Europe during the 19th century, women were regarded as chattels, the properties of their husbands and fathers. Women were sometimes looked down upon as minors, in other words, as children, without any rights or responsibilities. In many countries today, women are still placed in these categories and are prevented from making basic decisions about their own lives.
Whilst men were allowed to divorce their wives by just claiming they're unfaithful, women had to actually prove bigamy, rape, bestiality, cruelty or long-term desertion to gain a divorce.
All women were denied access to university or to medical school.
The Contagious Diseases Act was brought out in 1864, where police were allowed to check women for venereal diseases if they suspected them to be prostitutes.
This check didn't apply to men, even though they were allowed to have sex with more than one partner before marriage.
The Matrimonial Clause Act aimed to stop cruelty. For example, when men locked up their wives when they refused to have sex.
However, wife battering and rape still remained legal.
Men had the power to retrieve their women if they left home.
Prostitutes were put in mental asylums and abused by men there.
Children over the age of 7 were legally property of their fathers, who were allowed to take them away from their mothers.
Black women were generally formerly enslaved for sex, as they were seen as the opposite of white women, unclean and impure.
A husband was permitted to beat his wife with anything thinner than his thumb.
Male labourers and gardeners of wealthy women could vote, but wealthy women could not, so regardless of wealth, women were seen as inferior.
Women were expected to be
Passive,
timid, good-natured,
docile,
look, beautiful,
stay at home with the children, to be seen but not heard,
and let the men do all the work.
If women were left property or money from their fathers, as soon as they become married, all of this became their husbands.
It was said, boys are to be happy in themselves, the girls are to make the others happy.
Laws regarding parentage, marriage and divorce were often made in men's favour, leaving women in similar conditions to slavery.
Because men could vote and women could not. Men were always earning more than women.
Even though women teachers taught extra classes such as sewing and domestics for no extra pay.
By marriage, a woman's personal identity is lost.
Her person is sunk into that of her husband.
And he requires absolute mastery of her person and effects.
Before World War I, women had not lived.
When the women's suffrage argument first stood upon its legs, they answered it with cabbages, they answered it with eggs, they answered it with ridicule, they answered it with scorn. They thought it a monstrosity that should not have been born. Did we ask for veils and harems in the Oriental races? Did we beseech to be unclean, shut out of sacred places? Did we beg for scolding bridles and ducking stools to come, and clamour for the beating stick no thicker than your thumb? Did we ask to be forbidden from all the trades that pay, and claim the lower wages for a man's full work today? Cabbages, get your cabbages!
We only want to be able to help choose the men who make the laws.
And what are all these laws about?
Many of them are about children, houses, wages, taxes, insurance, and lots of other things which matter to women, just as they do to men.
You should keep your mouth shut.
There is nothing to pay, and your name will not be used in any public way. Please, we just want to know that you are a friend to us, in order that we may send you some of our papers, and let you know when our meetings are held. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Exquisite dinner.
What were you expecting? Jellied eel? How vile! I agree, the middle class quite are.
There isn't anything, no decorum.
No.
The only imaginative delicacy they could possibly mock up is a pie.
Amanda! Could you care to bring the tea and Battenberg to the lounge, please?
Speaking of the middle class, I heard my maids talking about the market today. There was another suffragist act commencing.
And then the apprentice said, 10 minutes, ma'am. I know. I laid them eggs there myself.
Have you heard about those suffrage men going about their silly quarrels again?
Oh yes, on my way to work they're making a fuss in the market square. Who do they think they are? Men!
It's absurd. Women already have the municipal vote and are eligible for most local authorities. These bodies deal with questions such as housing, education, care, children, workhouses and so forth. Yeah. All of which are peculiarly in a woman's world.
Well, yes indeed. All government rests ultimately on force, to which women, owing to physical, mental and social being, are not capable of contributing.
Well, really, women in fact suffrage is outrageous.
Indeed.
No moral respect for the public.
No.
Women's suffrage is based on the sexes, and it tends to be the relation to destroy
chivalrous confederation.
Yes.
Personally, I think there is little doubt the vast majority of women have no desire for the vote.
Oh, goodness. Really, Amanda? When I call for you, I expect to be swift and prompt. Not an hour later, my dear. Tell me, why does my husband pay for your services if your services aren't even up to scratch?
No.
You're dismissed.
Sorry, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
The requirement of the parliamentary vote would logically involve admission to the parliament itself and to its government offices. It is scarcely possible to imagine a woman being minister for war. And yet the principles of the suffragettes involve that and many other similar absurdities.
Yes, indeed. Gentlemen, we should continue this in the gardens.
The physical nature of women unfits them for direct competition with the men.
And as we know in past legalisation that in Parliament, women are in perfectly safe hands of men.
Well, as our dear Queen Victoria once said, this mad, wicked folly of women's rights in all of its attendant horrors, on which my poor feeble sex is bent, forgetting every womanly sense of feeling and propriety.
Well, news is going on as an actual meeting hosted by Mrs. Pankhurst.
Well, I believe we take this matter into our own hands. Dolly, my dear, would you care to join on this little charade tomorrow?
Certainly.
It's time to make a stop to this. Put the middle class in their place.
Definitely.
Beth, dear, where did you say it was again?
WSPU meeting, held tomorrow at 6 at Miss Emmeline Pankhurst's house.
Amanda! We know our place!
Yes, wait!
attendance and your support towards the cause of women's suffrage. My name is Emmeline Pankhurst. My daughters, Sylvia, Christabel and I, feel privileged to welcome you into our home. For more than 50 years, women have been demanding this common elementary right. We have always wanted the vote, we have always needed it, but never so much as we need it today. Today we have the new kind of politics, very different from the old kind of politics. Because today politics means, as it has never meant before, interference with us all in our daily lives. You have proposals out of Parliament and in Parliament for the regulation of our lives as we have never had before. No doubt with the best of intentions. Everybody intends well. But we women need new representation in order to see that this new legislation is not to be worse tyranny or greater oppression than any kind of legislation that has gone before. So this year, we are going to settle the business. We are tired. We want to be of use. We want to have this power so that we may try to make the world a much better place for men and for women than it is today. Now, politicians know better than women, for we are new to practical politics, many of us. How much it costs in time and energy and effort to carry out an agitation like this. But let me tell you this, that we want you all. We want your services, we want your help, we want your time, we want your energy, we want your money, and after all, that is the least part of it. Finally, I would like to say I am very glad to be here tonight. It makes me very happy to see what a few years ago I thought I should never live to see. They said, you will never rouse women. Well, we have done what they thought and what they hoped impossible. We women are roused. Perhaps it is difficult to rouse women, that we are long-suffering and patient. Now that we are roused, we will never be quiet again.
Ladies, we need to put together a publication to get our views across to the public. So, I'd like to hear your views on the matter. Why do you think women are entitled to vote?
Many uneducated working men can vote, while well-educated, respectable women cannot.
There are many women and widows who bear the same responsibilities as men.
Women have experience which should be helpfully brought to bear on the domestic legislation.
Public-spirited mothers make public-spirited sons.
Giving respectable women the votes will encourage them to further their careers and neglect their family duties. Only the undesirable classes will have children.
Those affecting children should be regarded from a woman's point of view as well as a man's. That's ridiculous.
Oh, please, it's mainly the middle-class women campaigning for the vote. They will have little interest in helping ordinary working people like you.
Hear, hear.
The foundation of all political justice is that those who obey the law should have a voice in those choosing who makes the law.
Why should women pay taxes to Parliament if Parliament doesn't answer to women?
Well, women are pure and should be protected from the grubby world of politics.
Women hold responsible jobs in society, so why can they not be trusted with the vote?
Women are the churchgoers. We are the churchgoers. Give women the vote if you want MPs to show Christian leadership.
Oh, please, may I just point out, Eve was formed from the spare rib of Adam, yet so was subject to his rule.
Exactly.
Excuse me, Christians believe in equality, freedom and independence. Jesus Christ was regarded as a rebel who spoke out against injustice. It's for the common good for all.
Let me tell you why I am here. I was a poor law guardian, and I will never forget seeing a girl of 13 lying in a bed playing with a doll. I was told she was on the eve of becoming a mother and was infected with a loathsome disease. Was that not enough to make me a militant? We women suffragists have a mission, to free half the human race, and I incite this meeting to rebellion.
Thank you for attending the WSPU meeting. I shall leave a WSPU registration booklet on the side. Thank you.
Well, darling. Signing anything. No, but we shall take this turret.
Lady Constance, isn't it?
Just Constance, please. I found it growing tiresome with the special treatment I've been given over the years regarding my title.
Mary Gawthorpe. Have I not seen you once before?
Oh, I I believe I once attended a women's suffragist meeting, which you hosted.
That's correct, one of my Leeds-based meetings, wasn't it? I thought you looked familiar. What brings you here?
Am I right in thinking we have the same cynical motives?
My curiosity brings me to these meetings. I must appallingly acknowledge that I've been somewhat blindsided by my work as an active socialist.
I too must state that the ignorance I once had towards the suffragettes has now turned into pity. I've argued at every turn, after every fresh demonstration of the WSPU. And then I remember the price the workers pay for the cause. For too long now, the suffragists have been overshadowed by the suffragettes, and we must step up.
I see we shared the same difficulties. In all my time spent organising, hosting and attending meetings across the country, I have never provoked such a reaction and indeed outdrawing the public as the suffragettes have. Thus I cannot acquit the power words seized among us. I am proud of my suffrage work. We were the driving force. However, I feel now is the time for deeds, actions, and as much as it pains me to admit it, militancy is the path I am to embark upon. It's what's needed.
Fellow men, why should the Lords try to despise and profit women from having the benefit of the parliamentary franchise when they pay the same taxes as you and me? I consider they ought to have the same liberty. Women and farmers have no protection as the law now stands, and many of them have lost their property and lands, and have been cast out of their beautiful farms by the unjust laws of the land and the sheriff's alarms. And in my opinion, such treatment is very cruel. And fair play, 'tis sad, it's a precious jewel. But such treatment causes women to fret and to dote, because they are deprived of the parliamentary franchise vote. And as for the working women, many are driven to the point of starvation, all through the tendency of the legislation. Besides, upon members of Parliament, they have no claim, as a deputation, which is a very great shame. Yes, the Home Secretary of the present day against working women's deputations hath always said, nay, because they haven't got the parliamentary franchise. That is the reason why he does them despise. And that, in my opinion, is really very unjust. But the time is not far distant, I must earnestly trust, when working women will have a parliamentary vote, and many of them, I hope, will wear a better petticoat. Therefore, go on, brave women, and never fear, although your case may seem dark and drear, and put your trust in God, for he is strong, and ye will gain the parliamentary franchise before very long.
Women's Sunday was the first monster meeting to be organised by the Women's Social and Political Union, trained to a specially chartered to bring in thousands of suffragettes from all over Britain. Frederick Pethick Lawrence persuaded the authorities to remove a quarter of a mile of park railings to accommodate the 7 processions that gathered in Hyde Park from 7 different directions. Amongst the brass bands, suffrage singers and banner parades were 20 temporary platforms erected in a circle for 80 speakers to address the crowds.
Shout out with your song, cry with the wind, for the dawn is breaking. March, march, swing you along. White glows our banner and hope is waking. Songs with their story, dreams with their glory. Lo, they call and glad is the word. Loud and louder it swells. Thunder and freedom, the voice of the Lord. of today, preparing, firm in reliance, laugh and defiance, laugh getting home, but sure is the end. March, march, many as one, shoulder to shoulder, and friend to friend.
What a day was this Sunday. Clear, radiant, rilled with golden sunshine. As I advanced, it seemed to me that all of London had turned out to witness our demonstration. It was a gay and beautiful, as well as an awe-inspiring spectacle. As the white gowns and the flower-trimmed hats of the women, against the background of ancient trees, gave the park the appearance of a full garden in full bloom. The bugles sounded, and the speakers of each 20 platforms began their addresses, which could not have been heard by more than half the audience.
The militant suffragists who form the Women's Social and Political Union are engaged in the attempt to win the parliamentary vote for the women of this country. Their claim is that those women who pay the same rates, the same taxes, and who fill in the same qualifications as men voters shall be placed upon the parliamentary register. The reason why women should get the vote is obvious to every fair-minded person.
Who are you? You are man, the thinker. And who am I? I'm woman, the thinker, who carries the womb. It's not that I rebel against nature, but against this new variation of the old theme. That is, he for God and she for God through him.
Get back your children where they are.
Who changed your nappies for you when you was a lad? A woman! Who brought you up to be a gentleman? Which you are! This civilization might have here today the glorious outpouring of a free and radiant womanhood. The new Eve stands already at the door. Can it be that you don't know her?
The British Constitution provides that taxation and representation shall go together. Therefore, women taxpayers are entitled to vote. Parliament views questions of vital interest to women such as housing, education and employment questions. Upon such matters, women wish to express their opinions at the ballot box.
Who bought your children and give you love and diversion? A woman!
You've waited too long for political justice. Refuse to wait any longer.
You're not going to get the vote anyway. Go live yet.
Yeah, you say we are good enough to share the vote with you? Be off before I take my brolly to
At 5 o'clock, the bugles sounded again. The speakers ceased, and the resolution calling upon the government to bring an official woman suffrage bill without delay was passed on to every platform, often without a sending vote. Then, with 3 times repeated cry of, "Votes for women! Votes for women! Votes for women!" the great meeting dispersed.
Lily of God of France, whose soul fled hence on wings of pain of fire?
Boudica!
Oh, look at her who stood.
Britain in arms and spat defiance at the house of Rome.
Black Agnes!
See there, the black-browed Agnes of Dunbar, who held her fortress as a soldier should, and capped the cannons roaring with a jest.
Made of Saragossa!
afraid for the girl who, when the guns thundered as Saragossa took her stand upon the walls and fired her countrymen with her own burning courage.
Emilia Plater!
Emily Plater, Poland's heroine, leader and patriot, dauntless in despair.
Polish, why are you Irish? Do it again in Polish.
Emily Plater, Poland's heroine, leader and patriot, dauntless in despair.
Fine.
Granny of Yancy! Thou dark-eyed princess of an eastern land, ruler of Yancy, captain proved in war. Thou but a task in years, among thy fellows these and many more, have nobly fought when need there was to fight, have nobly died when need there was to die. All these and many more, some named, some nameless, have risked their lives as blithely as a man, and come to that we've roughed and tumbled it.
Florence Nightingale!
And see, she comes, Our Lady of the Lamp. No soldier she, yet not unused to war, nor fearful of its horrors, death, and wounds and pestilence. Thou hast fought thee well, O lady, on whose shadow kisses fell. Oh.
Right, please, Right, take a seat, ladies. Come on, ladies. This is the time when our cause needs the most publicity. You have to bear in mind that your aims are either to convert people into supporting women's suffrage or reinforce what your audience know already. And how do we do this? Go sit with the others. And how do we do this? By communicating women's suffrage political messages clearly to our audience. Yes, I know we've heard that one too many times this week, but it doesn't seem to be sinking in, does it, Blanche? Oh. You have to remember that new women are going to be every performance you're in, either with their friends or their children. So if you don't watch your diction, Nancy, we are going to be losing potential supporters. Yes, I know not everyone is going to agree with our arguments, but people are getting sick and tired of the militant acts that the suffragettes are doing without fully understanding the reasons behind their actions. So, it's our job to remind people what we are fighting for, as well as spicing the cause up a little bit about it. I also appreciate that not all of you are actors. Can you please be quiet? I am trying to work. Sorry. I also appreciate that not all of you are actors, but that does not give you the excuse to not learn your lines and complain about the little rehearsal time that we have. We had 10 days to complete this, and now time is running out. This is a pageant of great women, the warrior scene. You are the heroines of the past who have fought for your history, your place in history, your place in justice, and a place in our hearts. Just like your suffragette sisters are fighting for right now. It will also show all those anti-suffragists that women do deserve the vote. How on earth are you going to motivate women mentally and physically destroyed by force feeding if you can't even motivate yourselves? Yes.
Excuse me, Edith. I have actually written a play on women's suffrage. Would you be able to take a look at it?
Yes, of course. I'll get round to it sometime this week. Maybe after rehearsal. Yes?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but why is writing a play so important to the women's suffrage? Wouldn't it be more helpful if we got stuck in with the demonstration rather than writing a play?
I think plays have done such a lot for women's suffrage. They get hold of naive people, frivolous people who would die sooner than go in cold blood to meetings. But they see the plays and get interested, and then we can rub them in for meetings. All suffrage writers ought to write suffrage plays as hard as they can. It's a great work. Right, from the top. Citizens, come on, stop pushing. Night, please, Joanna.
imagine nothing better, brother, than that which you've always had before? Have you been so contented with wife and mother, you dare hope nothing more? She has been your utmost possession, your slave, your mother, your well-chosen bride. And you have owned in millionfold confession. But you are not satisfied. Peace, then. Fear not the coming woman, brother. Owning herself, she giveth all the more. She shall be better woman, wife and mother, than man hath known before.
All rise. Case 4532, that's of Miss Emily Wilding Davison, who was caught attempting to place an incendiary device into a mailbox on the night of February 8th, 1912.
Thank you, my lord. I would like to call my first witness to the prosecution, Mr. Inspector Francis Powell.
Inspector Francis Powell. You are Inspector Francis Powell?
I am.
Do you swear by Almighty God to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Inspector Powell, would you give your statement of events that happened regarding Emily Wilding Davison?
Yes. I've known the prisoner for some years. She has 6 convictions against her: for assault on the police, obstruction of the police, and doing willful damage, all in the connection with the women's suffrage movement. She's highly respectable beyond this movement, and she's given the police a great deal of trouble. On December 14th, I was in Parliament Street from 1:20 PM near the post office, when I saw the prisoner walk from the pavement up to the letterbox at the post office. Her back was towards me, but I know her by sight. She wore a long coat which hid her arms to a certain extent. When at the letterbox, her head was stooped, and she appeared to be striking matches. I rushed up behind her and looked over her shoulder. She held a small package in her left hand, one of the top corners of which was slightly alight. She held it there for a moment as if to give it an opportunity to become more alight. I took it with my left hand, and in doing so extinguished the flame. I then took her into custody at New Scotland Yard. When there, she sat in a room. As I was leaving the room, she called me back and said, "Do you know I set fire to 2 in the city this morning?" A pillar box in Leadenhall Street. It burned. I presume she meant the contents, as what she put in there was well alight. The other was opposite the Mansion House in Mappin and Webbs. She then confessed that she set fire to a post office, 43 Fleet Street on Friday last. On the Monday following, she went up to a policeman to be arrested. I took her into custody at New Scotland Yard. No, I didn't. Sorry, sir. Bit nervous. I rehearsed before I came on. Could you get me a glass of water? Let's take that button, sir. Sorry, Your Honour. Very nervous.
I believe you have some evidence, sir, the kerosene.
Yes. She was searched and found 2 similar packets on her to this one. Exhibit 3, sir. It contained a piece of calico saturated, what I thought was paraffin, but it was kerosene.
Thank you, Inspector. You may stand down.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, sir.
I would like to now call the accused, Miss Emily Wilding Davison.
Miss Emily Wilding Davison. You are Miss Emily Wilding Davison?
Yes.
Do you swear by Almighty God to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Miss Davison, you have indeed admitted to your guilt, but what is a mystery to me is your motives. Would you explain to the court why?
My motive in doing this was to protest against the vindictive sentence and treatment that my comrade, Mary Lee, when last charged at this court, received. compared with the treatment awarded to Lady Constance Lytton, who has done far more damage. Secondly, I wish to call upon the government to put women's suffrage into the King's speech on February 14th, 1912.
Silence. Silence.
As the protest was meant to be serious, I adopted a serious course. In the agitation for reform in the past, the next step after window breaking was incendiaries, in order to draw the attention of the private citizen to the fact that the question of reform is their concern as well as that of women.
Silence. Silence.
Finally, women are now so moved upon this question that they feel that anything necessary to be done must be done, regardless of the consequences. But the consequences do not really lie at their door, but at the door of those who have refused to deal with the question as a matter of justice.
I object, my lord. Miss Davison is going off point.
Yes, indeed. Please stick to the question given, Miss Davison.
There was no malice in what I did. It was a purely political act and was done from no motive whatsoever, but to draw the attention of the public to the iniquitous state of affairs now existing. And it has long ago been recognised in England that men who do any act of violence from a political motive must be differently treated from those who do it from a purely personal motive. That is the distinction between the political prisoner and the ordinary criminal.
There is no such thing as a political crime, Miss Davison. It is either a crime or not a crime.
I suppose I must be judged to be guilty. But morally, I'm not guilty. Morally, it is you, before whom I stand, who are guilty. You, the private citizens of this country and the government you choose to represent you, who keep women out of their just rights as citizens, and in doing so absolutely prevent your country having any right to be called a democratic country. That is, a country where the rights of the people hold good. And so long as you exclude women from these rights, upon you lies the blame of any act that they may have to commit in order to procure those rights.
Silence! I will have silence in my court. Silence! Miss Davison, you have indeed admitted your guilt. Therefore, passing sentence is merely a formality. You shall be taken from this place and held in prison for a period of no less than 6 months. And I do hope, Miss Davison, that I shall not see you in my court again.
I can make no promises, Your Worship. Votes for women! Votes for women! Votes for women!
Silence!
Votes for women! Votes for
Silence!
women! Votes for women!
My court!
Lads, listen up, scalawags. Those suffrage were on the march again. Behave as a true gentleman we are, refined and good-mannered. Do everything above board. That was on the record. Off the record, orders from top were not to take any nuisance.
Well, Gov, my wife's out there.
Are you implying your wife is out there?
Well, yes, Gov. Well, of course she is. She's one of them suffrage women, Gov.
You a bad egg. It's a lot of balderdash. My wife Ethel wanted my permission to be one of them. I said no. Stay in the house.
Let me define with being given our orders. Let's just focus on the ringleaders.
Oh, Gov, me little whippersnippers are out there, Gov.
Oh, you get her home. Aye, get her home. Tell her to put the stove on.
Talking about stoves, Albert, why don't you go get the water boiling? Go get me a brew bubbling.
That's a good idea, that's all, mate.
Right, listen up, we're going to be in the hundreds. 302 to be precise. Now, it's going to start off as a nice political protest, but it's going to escalate. It always does. Look at Dick. He's not spot over Bruce toe.
Well, send him my love from me, Barbara, George, William, and little Elizabeth. Hi, she's 2 in a week. Oh, there is a party. Don't love good tea party.
Talking about tea. Where's my brew? Right, listen up, we're nearly at the House of Commons. When they're here, we're going to be ready for them. Now, we're going to do everything to keep it peaceful, but if they take one step closer without our consent, then do not use a thumb arrest. Right, look at me, lads.
Oh, come on, ladies, where's the keys?
I don't know, Mr.
Come on, ladies, I'm not messing about now.
Do you think we'd be that stupid to bring the key with us?
These no ways! These no ways! These no ways! These no ways! These no ways!
Let me back! I say, move! Where I say move! You do what I say! Where I say! You can't move! You can't move!
Come here! Shut up!
You gonna help us out, love?
I thought you didn't have the key.
Of course we've got the key.
These not words! These not words!
I'm so tired of being favoured. I'm so tired of committing crimes and being lightly punished. I'm tired of being Lady Constance Lytton. I'll become Jane Wharton. And Jane Wharton will endure the same treatment as the rest of the suffragettes.
What are you doing here, love? What's your name?
Jane Wharton.
What do you do, Jane Wharton?
I'm a London seamstress. And a suffragette.
Oh, really? Yeah, y'all come over here then. Back with the rest of you.
Arms out. Shoes off. All good, take her away. And that is how you do a basic search. Here are some rules. All prisoners shall be referred to as number, not name. Lights shall be out at 7 p.m, later to be on at 5 a.m. They can bath once a week, no more. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
This morning, my turn came to be force-fed. I had intended to be resistant, or beat off the prison staff. But I am weak. I was shaking with fear and I failed miserably. 4 big wardresses came into my cell, wrapped a towel around me and without further ado pinned me down against my bunk. One of them clamped her hand over my mouth and squeezed it closed. Then the doctor arrived. He was carrying all manner of horrific-looking equipment. He then proceeded to insert a rubber tube, approximately 2 feet in length, up my left nostril. It was horrendous. At first I had a tickling sensation and my eyes began to sting. He then threaded it further and further until it was thread down my throat. My eyes were weeping. I was gasping for breath and fighting off the women who were too strong for me. A china funnel was then attached to the other end of the piping, and a mushy cabbage-like liquid was poured into it. The doctor took my pulse while another wardress pinch closed my right nostril. Now both were blocked. I couldn't breathe at all. I thought I would either suffocate or choke to death. My eyes were streaming. My arms and shoulders ached from the force of being pinned down against my bunk. I fought for breath until the liquid was sucked up into my nose and down my throat, which is the point of this cruel, horrid exercise. A basin of water was then placed in front of me and the tube was withdrawn. Mucus and phlegm came out with it. I kept spitting as if something was still stuck inside of me. My chest throbbed with pain. I felt sick and very dizzy. Nothing could ever prepare you for this horror.
Hunger strike I have described as a dreadful ordeal, but it is nothing compared with first strike, which is from beginning to end simple and unmitigated torture. Hunger strike reduces a prisoner's weight very quickly, but first strike reduces weight so quickly that doctors were thrown into absolute panic of fright. Even now they regard first strike with terror. The body cannot endure loss of moisture. It cries out in protest with every nerve. Every natural function is of course suspended, and poisons which are unable to pass out of the body are retained and absorbed. The muscles waste, the skin becomes shrunken and flabby, the facial appearance alters horribly, all these outward symptoms being eloquent of the acute suffering of the entire physical being.
Thursday morning, the three wardresses appeared again. One of them said if I did not resist, she would send the others away and come and do what she had to do as gently and decently as possible. I consented. This was another attempt to feed me by the rectum, which was done in a cruel way, causing me great pain. She returned some time later and said there was something else she had to do. I took it to be another attempt to feed me in the same way, but proven to be a more grosser and more indecent outrage, which could have been done for no other purpose than torture. It was followed by a soreness, which lasted for several days.
If you dare to take one step inside my cell, I will defend myself. Take me to Mrs. Pethick Lawrence. I want to see what you've done to her.
Emmeline, I hope Frederick is keeping well.
You will not touch her again.
Jane Wharton. On your head be it.
rape.
Get the funnel. It's your own fault, Jane.
Constance, are you all right?
Don't call me Constance. It's Jane. It's Jane Walton.
Yeah, it says here on Facebook that David Cameron is an arse. I don't even know who that is.
What?
Oh, wait, yeah, there was a real tall, daft music student, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's the president. Duh.
Prime Minister.
How can you not know the Prime Minister is?
It's all over the news. Well, I don't really watch the news. It's on at the same time as Simpsons.
I love Simpsons, it's jizz.
No, I voted Lib Dems and they've shafted all the students. I mean, it's £9,000 to get into Oxford now. How am I supposed to afford that?
I don't know.
And I feel like it's my fault because I didn't vote.
Yeah, but I don't know how to vote.
Polling station? Where is the polling station? What is a polling station?
Oh, it's where you cast your votes.
Listen, it don't matter who we vote for because the government's still going to get in.
Do you have to pay to vote?
Elections are free, it's in the results that eventually we all pay.
Right, no, voters don't even decide issues, they decide who will decide issues.
The trouble with this country is that there are too many politicians who believe with a conviction based on the experience that you can fool all the people all the time.
Yeah, but constantly choosing the less of two evils, still choosing evil.
Yeah, but if voting did change, then they'd abolish it.
Did you not do suffragettes at school?
Suffering rejects.
Suffragettes, ignorant. Do you not know about the suffrage?
Yeah, the lesson with Pete.
Are you kidding me? Suffrage is the right to vote. Do you even know what these women went through to give us the privilege to cast a vote today? God, some people in today's society take it for granted. Women died for you. They went through physical and mental pain. They were slung in prison and force-fed in the most inhumane way. Do you want me to describe it to you? They shoved a 4-foot tube up their nose. These women starved for you, withered away and fought for you. They were sexually discriminated and abused with lack of respect like animals. They cut themselves and were tortured for you. One woman even got trampled on by a horse at a race and she died. You must use your vote. They suffered for it.
Well, she's got a point, you know. Come on.